Good evening. We're just about to get started, just waiting for all the tech stuff to go live. So good evening. We're live on a few platforms. Apologies for the siren in the background. The police are on their way, so we haven't got much time, so we need to crack on and get this done really fast. I'm kidding. We're at the offices and there seems to be some alarm going off in the background, which I can't do a lot about, I'm afraid. So hopefully you can still hear me okay. Then on top of that, I'm wearing a stripy shirt. So what's the problem wearing a stripy shirt? You might see on screen sometimes that distorts the picture, so that was a mistake on my part today, so my apologies. So now that we've got the apologies out of the way, we'll crack on in a moment. What we're doing here, so I'm here really to share with you my time, experience, knowledge around property and property investing to help you get further faster in your journey. So any questions that you've got around property, I'm the first to put my hand up and say, look, I don't know everything there is to know about property, but I've got tremendous amount of experience I'm happy to share with you. So pop your questions in below about your property investing journey and I'll do what I can to help. We're live on various platforms, on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. So whichever platform you're on, put the questions in and then I'll do my very best to answer those. I've got my lovely assistant Khalid here passing the questions to me as you're putting them in. So to get started, I've got a few unanswered ones from last week, so I'm just going to start with those first until the new questions start coming in. Hey, the siren's gone off in the background. Hopefully it'll stay off. So I've got a question here from David Yamo. I'm not sure which platform it was on. It said, will you have more than 3 HMOs on the same road? It's a great question, David. So what's the significance of having more than one property on the same street? Well, sometimes it could be a case of you're cannibalizing your own business by oversupplying what's available into the market. But then on the other hand, you might have economies of scale by having 3 on the same street. Your cleaners don't need to go very far apart to access the properties, for example. So it's taking a number of factors into consideration before you can actually make the decision. Is it a good idea to have more than 1, 2, 3 plus whatever it might be HMOs on the same street? Predominantly, you need to start with what's the demand for rooms in that area. So if it's somewhere where there's a healthy demand for HMOs, then yes, absolutely, having more than one property in the street can only be a benefit, particularly if you've got one there that's been working really well. So I have a number of properties where we've got 2 side by side. And in fact, we have got probably 2 streets where we've got at least 3 houses on the same street. So having several properties on the same street is not really an issue as long as the demand is there. I think you can benefit from the economies of scale by having things together and having them nearby. Let's say you've got 2 rooms available across 2 different properties. You could pop into the one, show them a room that you have available to let. And if they don't like that one, you can always take them across to something else and show them that. So in short, David, yes, absolutely. I think it's a great idea as long as there's sufficient demand in the area. And if there isn't, then of course you want to be careful and make sure that you're not putting, you're not oversupplying the market. So let me get some more questions here from last week that I can pick up. Are we all good tech-wise?
See on LinkedIn at the moment.
Say
everything else is LinkedIn's not working. But everything
okay,
else.
So Khalid's having a look at some of the tech. I think LinkedIn's not working at the moment. So I've got one here from Shahid Lal. I'm looking at cash flow strategies. What would you suggest to expedite the cash flow, and can it be done with no money down? Minimum money input. This is a great question. One of those questions I could spend just this half-hour session just on that. So let's look at it in a succinct way. When you're starting out in property, if you haven't got very much money and you're looking to get involved in property, primarily the main thing that interests people and brings them into the property investing community and the property investing industry primarily is because you're going to make great income from it. That's what creates the interest, whether it's cash flow from properties now, whether it's growth in capital from flipping properties, or over time, the increased value that you have. We're good? So they're the reasons that people want to come into property. So if you're getting started, you got to think about what is it that's encouraged you to get involved, what's driving you to want to get involved in property. So let's assuming you want to create a cash flow, as you've said. So think about what strategies can you start to create cash flow if you haven't got a huge amount of money. So one of the ones is rent to rent of some form. There's 2 types of rent to rent that you could look at that I think could get you started. Again, it depends on where you are in the country, what kind of demand you have, what the price of the rooms are, what the price of the whole property is. And so you got to look at the numbers and see if it's viable. So one is rent to HMO, when you're taking on a property, renting out the rooms individually to create the additional cash flow. The other is rent to service accommodation, which is where you're taking on a property but renting it out on a short stay. You're having people stay and you have a faster churn on that, i.e. a higher cash flow. And then the third way, I think it's a great way to get started when you haven't got much money, is to source property deals for other people. So you get very good at sourcing. Now, I believe that's the best place to start. You get very good at finding opportunities, and then that opens many doors for you. Because look, if you're good at finding opportunities, you're good at finding rent to HMO deals, rent to service accommodation, below market value, potential flips, whatever they might be, you develop and hone those skills about finding these deals, then you can cherry pick ones that you might want to do yourself. And you can also sell others on. So then you're creating an income from the effort you're putting in finding these deals and selling those deals on. That's bringing you income, and you cherry pick and select one or two properties that you might want to keep to help start building up the cash flow. And as you get better at sourcing, you'll get better quality deals, and which also means you'll be able to charge probably more than you may do at the beginning in terms of fees for those deals. The other great thing is when you're sourcing and you get very good at sourcing and you get very good quality deals, it may be that you don't actually sell them on. You partner with people who've got the money so that they fund your deals and you build your business that way. And that's how I started. I got very good at sourcing. I was selling deals for a while, and then I started partnering with people who've got the funds, and then we can share the profit in that way. So that's kind of how I'd get started if you're kind of new. Now, all of this comes with knowledge. You don't know what you don't know right now. So it's about making sure you get skilled and you understand how to do these, go out and do them effectively, produce the results that will help you build the business. So I hope that helps, Shai. So I'm just going to continue with a couple of questions I've got at the moment whilst I'm waiting for some others. So this follows on nicely from my last one. This is on YouTube from Liban Ahmed. I'm 18, looking to get into rent-to-rent in Birmingham. What will I need in order to start? So we're just talking about rent-to-rent, a great place to start. There's a number of challenges with rent-to-rent as well. Let's not look at this through rose-tinted spectacles. Let's be really straightforward about this. And if you've been following me for a while, you know I'm really straightforward with these things. I don't give you the fluffy BS version. I just tell you how it is. Rent-to-rent is hard work. There is no doubt about that. You have to graft and you have to put the effort in to make these deals work. And if I'm being straightforward with you about the number of people that probably succeed, I'd say probably more fail than succeed. So you've got to see what is it that you've got that's going to keep you going. Have you got that persistence, that drive that's going to keep you going when you face adversities and challenges, and being able to push through and make those deals work. So what I mean by that, well, first of all, the enormous amount of rejection you get at the beginning when you start looking for these type of deals. You're going out, you're talking to letting agents about taking the property on a rent-to-rent basis. You're talking to landlords about why they should give the property to you on a rent-to-rent. And you've got this uphill challenge where you're trying to sell the concept of, look, they should give the property to you and you're going to look after it and you're going to manage it and you've got no experience. And you've got this uphill challenge that you face. And for the first few months, sometimes it can feel so hard. But here's the thing, those that push through, the rewards are massive. The rewards are huge. You know, if you set a rent-to-rent up correctly and you set it up in a profitable way and you select the right type of deals that's going to make you good money, you're making typically £1,000, £800, maybe £1,000 on a single deal. Let's say you only set up 3 of those over a year. What is that? That's £33,000 a year from what? From properties you don't even own. In fact, it's £36,000. My math is terrible. It's £36,000 approximately a year that you're earning from 3 properties that you don't own. That's more than the average salary in this country. So you don't have to pay your tax. You're still earning a nice amount of money. And if all you're trying to do is get out the rat race and not be working for somebody else and just have time freedom, that's all you need to do. And I've said this time and time again, rent-to-rent really should be a stepping stone strategy. That means, personally, I don't believe rent-to-rent is the way to build an empire. Effectively, you're becoming a letting agent, you're managing other people's properties, and you're kind of creating a super income for managing other properties. But the more you take on, the more effort you have to put in, the more work you'll have to do, the more you'll have to manage. And then you get to a certain point where you can't actually manage all these properties yourself. Now you have to start employing other people. Now you need help from other people. Now you've got to start paying them. So now you need to earn even more to pay them. Do you see where this is going? Whereas if you get a small number of properties producing really good income, you manage them as a tight ship, and then that gives you the time freedom to be able to explore other strategies. And again, if you heard me talk about this before, I think you should put your blinkers on once you've got your strategy clear. So about 80% of your time is absolutely focused on doing this strategy. There may be 20% of your time on exploring other strategies or something else you might be interested in doing, but primarily you should be focused on getting this strategy to work really well for you, because it's going to require persistence. So in terms of getting started, again, it's understanding what's involved. If you're in Birmingham, come along to our monthly property meet. We meet on the 3rd Tuesday of the month. We don't meet in August and we don't meet in December. So 10 meetings throughout the year. We have about 100 people there each month. You can come and learn from other people. We'll have great speakers. You network with people. You'll pick up knowledge. You'll pick up contacts, connections, other people that work in the property industry as well. So literally everything you need in one room once a month. And that will be to get you started in property. You need to build your knowledge and to build your understanding. Then it's applying that knowledge, implementing that knowledge, making sure you're taking action, because that's what will give you the results. So I hope that makes sense. So I'm just going to grab another question. So I've got a question here on Facebook from Amar. Good evening. I know it's a bit early to ask, but what is your expert view on housing market after Brexit? Is it better to wait for a while? Well, people will always wait, because indecision is what leads to opportunities. And prior to all this stuff that was happening, prior to the election, when people were talking about Brexit, I'm going to wait, I'm maybe going to not sell my property right now, there's always opportunities that exist in the marketplace. Look, what is it with Brexit? Even with all the stuff that's going on, it's going to take a while for us to exit out and be clear what the trade arrangements are going to be. It's going to take many, 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 many months yet. There's no clear certainty in terms of how this is going to pan out. But what we've got is some confidence and reassurance in the marketplace. Okay, we've got a government that's got complete control about what's going on. They can push certain things through, and they can make move things forward in the way they want. Brexit's happening, we like it or not, it's going to happen now. So how does that affect housing market? Really, it's about sentiment. How do people feel? Because that's ultimately what drives the market. If people feel unsure, if there's uncertainty, they don't buy, they don't spend, they'll put off that house move, and that's what slows the market down. But when people are excited and positive about the market and they see growth happening and there's activity, and what happens, it becomes self-fulfilling, and that's what drives the market forward. So I think we're just coming out of that uncertainty period. We haven't got complete certainty going forward, but the general sentiment will be the market will start moving. So I've got some properties I'm developing to sell at the moment, and I've been thinking, how's the market going to pan out? And right now I'm getting all the right noises from the estate agents that people are kind of coming back. They're looking, people that were waiting are now starting to come back to the market. So I think, we shouldn't be waiting for these things. We should look at what the opportunity is right now. If you've heard me talking about the property cycle, in terms of where we are in the cycle, we need to think about what opportunities exist in that marketplace. So it's about 14 years now I've been in property. And the one key learning I've had is the only certainty in property is constant change. We're always evolving, the market's changing, strategies are changing, the political regime will change, that will impact the market. So there's always this change going on in this cycle, things are moving constantly. So we can't plan and say, right, this is what I'm going to do for the next 25 years, this is my strategy, as people used to look at many, many years ago, because things don't last that long in the property market. The opportunities that exist right now that you can do, you can make money from right now, may not exist in 5 years' time. And the things people were doing 5, 10 years ago don't exist right now. People aren't doing no money down, same day remortgaging, buying off plan like they were 10 years ago, pre-market crash. Those are the things that people are doing, but those aren't the strategies people are using right now. So we have to understand the market is constantly changing, and we have to recognize what are the opportunities that make money today. They may be different to what will be in a few years' time. So it's making sure that you understand what market you're in, i.e. what part of the country you're in, where the market is and what opportunities exist there, and making sure you're capitalizing on those. So for instance, we've been talking about rent to rent. There are some places in the country rent to rent just doesn't work because the house prices are way too high. By the time you take the property on and you try and either re-let it out as a HMO rooms, or you try and run it as service accommodation, the margin is so slim that actually it's just not worth all the hassle. And you've got setup costs as well, like furnishing, kitting it out, getting ready, professional photography, holding costs, utilities, all these things you've got to think about. Is it actually going to make you some money? And sometimes I see deals, people sharing with me and say, what do you think of this one? Do you think this will work? And I think, you're being fairly optimistic in terms of what you think you're going to be able to get when you rent this out. And you're being very pessimistic with what you think your gas bills are going to be and your voids are going to be. You have to look at this in a very realistic way and see, is this actually going to work? And speak to somebody more experienced on the figures past them and see what they think. As I said, if you attend my monthly meet, come along, speak to me, bring the figures to me, let me have a look at them. I'm happy to give you my thoughts and advice on that. So let me grab the next question. So we've got one here. This one I think was from Facebook. Is a previous one from Facebook that was left unanswered. Is Slim Basha. I'm just thinking, have I done this one? I think I've done that one. It's one we did last week. I didn't cross it off. So I've got another one here from Nick McDonald. He says, this is on Facebook as well. Hey, Saj, thanks for the video. Thank you very much. How long on average does it become compliant to source? So when we talk about sourcing properties, a few things you need to take into consideration. When we're sourcing and packaging property for other people, we've got to think about what is it that's involved. People think, yes, I'm just going to find a property, I'm going to sell it to somebody over there, I'm going to charge a fee, and hey, job done. Well, there's actually a little bit more to it to that. The way to think about this, it's a little bit like an estate agency business. You think, hang on, estate agency, what is he talking about? Has he gone mad? No, it's a little bit like an estate agency. If you think about what an estate agent do, an estate agent will be instructed by somebody to sell their property for them, i.e. find them a buyer, and the seller will pay the agent a fee. So what do we do as sourcers, as brokers? Well, we do a very similar thing, but we sit on the other side. What does that mean? So what we do, we're paid by the buyer to find them a property so that they can take it on. See, now it's very similar to an estate agency from that point of view, so then from a compliance point of view, we need to be thinking about the same things. So are you registered for data protection? Are you making sure that you've got the right insurances in place, professional indemnity insurance? Are you registered for anti-money laundering? Have you registered with the property ombudsman for trading of a property? And then my mind's gone blank. What else do we need? There's a few things you need to be able to get set up properly. Maybe you need a client account. So some of these things will take a little bit of time. Some things you need in a linear fashion, or you need to get certain things done before you can do other ones. So, for example, if you're registering for a client account, they'll probably ask you for your professional indemnity insurance, maybe that you've registered with the ombudsman. So some things have to happen before other things will fall into place. So I know you might be thinking right now, there's so many people that sell property, that sell deals, that probably aren't compliant, that probably aren't registered with these things. Yeah, absolutely they are, but it doesn't mean you have to be the same. My job is really to share with you the correct way of doing things. What you choose to do is your choice, but my job, as I said, is to kind of show you which is the correct way of doing it. And this doesn't take too long to get these things set up. Some of these are little costs that you'll incur. But one thing I would say is if you're thinking about sourcing and you're thinking about packaging deals and selling them on, then first of all, start looking at what's involved. Think about how much you might need to spend on marketing, how much time is involved, and see if you can get moving forward with finding deals first before you start to sell them on. I think too many people spend time kind of fidgeting around the sides of, I'm going to set up this amazing website. I'm going to get my branding right. It's going to be the best branding. We're going to be really different because we're going to do things in a very slick way, in a very tech way. And what they're doing, they're spending their time on all these little things that don't actually make any money. First of all, you need to find deals. As I was saying earlier on, get good at finding deals, because once you find deals, then other things can fall into place. Once you've gone through the process of trying to find deals, negotiating them, securing them, and you're comfortable, you're able to do that, this is when you might think, actually, I might be able to turn this into a business. And you can set up all the compliance to be able to run things through, to be able to run it as a proper business. And when your fees are hitting close to £90,000, you need to register for VAT as well, because you've got VAT on top of your fees. So if you want to do it properly, you've got all these things to think about. I think there's too many people that start off and then give up. They think, oh, it's too hard or it doesn't work in my area. Make sure you can do the sourcing first. So I hope that's useful. I'm just going to grab see what other questions that I've got here. Thank you very much. As it's been written just passed to me. Okay. Got 2 here. So let's start with this one. Then I'll grab the. Then I'll do the other one. So this one's on Facebook. Tadas. I'm not even going to attempt to try and pronounce your second name because I'm only going to embarrass myself. How high I would like to ask about pros and cons to investing in HMOs versus semi accommodation in 2020. Okay, so the question really Tadas is asking is, which is a better strategy? Do you invest in HMOs or do you invest in service accommodation? Ultimately, you have to think about why is it you want to invest in property. That's where you should always start. What outcome are you looking for? You're looking to create a certain amount of money. Okay, how much is that money? What's that look like? Then think about all the resources you have available to you right now, how much time you have, how much experience, what contacts, resources, how much money, your ability to be able to raise finance, mortgageability, all these things you're thinking about, because effectively we're talking about running a business. Whether you're running a HMO property portfolio, whether you're running an SA, service accommodation business, they are businesses and you need to think about them that way and treat them as a business. So you wouldn't go and open up a fast food outlet if you no idea if the business is going to work and don't know anything about it. You spend 100 grand kitting out a shop and say, hey, presto, let's go. No, I know some people do, but it's a bad idea, right? You want to make sure you understand the market, what's involved, and then you make decisions based on that. In the same way, with this, it's a business. So you've got to think about why is it you want to get involved? What is it ultimately you're trying to achieve from this? And which is going to be the better strategy to suit you to do that? So for example, when we look at HMOs, in certain parts of the country, you'll be able to run HMOs and service accommodation and work quite well. In other parts of the country, service accommodation may run a lot better than HMOs. So in that area, you'd focus on service accommodation. Whereas in another city, it may be that HMOs work really well and there isn't that much of a demand for service accommodation. So this is where you've got to think about all the other factors and not just in isolation think, oh, that strategy looks interesting. Someone's making a lot of money from that. Maybe I should do that one. No, you need to look at all the factors, take them into consideration and pick which is going to be the right one for you. So with HMOs, often they'll take a lot more money to set up and get started because you've got to get all the compliance in the house right. You've got to get it kitted out. You've got all the furnishings and the setup costs, which are probably going to be much higher than they would be. So for example, in a 1-bedroom apartment, in a service accommodation unit. And then you got to think about how you're going to fund that, how will that work? Is it going to be a rent-to-rent? How are you going to be doing a purchase? Just to give you an idea, the HMOs that I do, typically about 100 to 120,000 pounds is how much I spend on renovating each house. That's after the purchase. That's just the renovation cost and getting the house up and running and looking amazing. So you've got to think about which is going to be the right one for you in terms of how much you might have starting wise. That will affect your ability to be able to move forward. And what funding are you going to be able to do? Are you going to pay cash for the purchase of this property that you're going to convert to a HMO? Are you using some kind of bridging, or are you going to use a mortgage to start with? How will that work? The same thing with service accommodation. You've got to think about, okay, how are you going to acquire the property? Are you taking it on a rent to service accommodation? Is it going to be a purchase? Is it going to be a mortgage? Is it the right type of mortgage for that property? Is that available to you? These are the factors that need to be considered. It's not just about which one makes more money, right? I'm going to do that one. It's about which one is probably going to work better for you, where you are in the country, and all the other factors considered, so that you find a strategy that's going to work better for you and you'll stick to it and you'll produce a better result. So I hope that helps there, Tadas. So how are we doing for time? So we've got a question on LinkedIn, the Sunlight Group UK. What if you have very little deposit and you want to buy a house in London? That's a great question. So look, when you're purchasing a property, let's keep the number simple. Let's say it's £100,000. Yeah. If it's in London, just put another zero on there and it's probably £1 million. You're purchasing, say, a 3-bedroom house, it's £100,000. You've and an investment property, you have then got to come up with a deposit. Typically on a buy-to-let, it's about 25%, and the bank will lend you the other 75%. On top of that, you've still got other costs. You've got stamp duty that you need to pay. You've got solicitors' costs in terms of the purchase. You have finance costs for taking on the product. You might have mortgage brokers' fees as well. You have valuation fees. These are all additional costs over and above the 100,000 purchase price that you need to take into consideration. So let's say 100,000 purchase price, you've got 75,000 that's coming from the bank. You've still got the 25,000 deposit. So your question essentially is, what if you don't have enough deposit? Well, it may be possible to get some properties where you'll be able to get more than a 75% mortgage, so maybe 85% mortgage. I'm not a mortgage broker, so I can't give you financial advice. Maybe check with the broker what products are available right now. If there's something that you might be able to access, that's more than the 75%. So that reduces the amount of money you put in. If you're a first-time buyer, and it maybe even it's a home, then actually you might be able to reduce that even further. There might be even smaller deposits you need to put in, so not even as high as 15% to get you started. But let's assume it's an investment property, it's a buy-to-let type property that we're talking about. So another way would be to purchase a property that has some discount in it. Now, look, typically we talk about 25% discount when we're buying property. You're probably not going to get 25% discount in London. But having said that, the market has been quite suppressed in London for the last couple of years, and I've heard about some very, very good deals that are available. So it may be possible to purchase something at a lower price, but you might use, say, bridging finance to do the initial purchase. Let's say, using the simple numbers again, let's say it's a £100,000 property and you're able to purchase it at £80,000. So you could probably get a bridging lender to give you, sometimes it's possible to get the full money for the property. Well, let's say they might give you 75,000 because they're lending you based on value. So you're only putting £5,000 in. Or it might be they're only going to give you, say, 75% of the 80,000 purchase price, in which case now your deposit has shrunk again a little bit, not massively. But what you can then do is refinance the property a few months down the road, maybe 6 months down the road, you refinance the property to its true value of 100,000 and you're extracting some of your money back out. So although you're putting more money in, you're actually getting some of that money back out within a few months. That's another way to do it. So that means you're not tying up as much money. And another way, of course, is to work with other people. Again, this is how I started and I built my portfolio. At the beginning, I was sourcing property, and then I started working with other people, then funding the deals and partnering with other people. And in this way, you could partner with somebody else. They could be on the joint mortgage application, for example, with you. They put the money in. Or there's a number of other ways to structure the deals where somebody else gets involved with you in that particular purchase. And then it means that you're not having to put in as much money, but you still benefit from the growth. Even if you're giving away part of a deal to somebody else, yeah, if you're going to make significant money from that over a period of time, look, let's just say, typically 10, 12 years, prices have doubled in this country. So if you're purchasing something now for £100,000, even if you're putting a full deposit of £25,000 in 10 years' time, let's assume that's worth £200,000. Even if it's not 10 years, let's say 20 years, it's worth £200,000. How much have you got tied up in that property? Only 25,000. The bank gave you the other 75,000. That means you've made £100,000. So the potential is significant. Now, if you have to share that with somebody to get started, to get on the property ladder, you partner with somebody, they put some of the money in, you're sharing that with somebody else, you're still making significantly more than I believe you'll do from many other things. So property is one of those things. Not only you get great cash flow, but over time you get great capital growth as well. So hopefully that helps. So just before we wrap up, I just want to remind you that I run a monthly property meet as an opportunity to meet up. We can sit down. We have a VIP dinner as well. If you want to join me for dinner, we can chat afterwards. If I can help you anyway in your property journey, we meet on the third Tuesday of the month in Birmingham. The website address is sajhussain.com/networking. It's usually all over my social media. Book onto that. If you're a first timer, you can come along for £1. I can't say fairer than that. Come along, you'll meet lots of other people. As I said, usually 100 people there. Happy to help and support you in your property journey. I look forward to seeing you at the property meet in about a week's time. Otherwise, back on here next Monday at 8:30. Thank you so much.